Okay, so we are starting something a little bit new this week. We're going to be doing measurements. This is part of our geometry standards, measure and compare. We're going to do inches, feet, yards, and miles today, and then Wednesday the video will be over the metric system. So let's just dive right in. Okay, so customary units of length. These are ones that you probably should know. Have seen before. It's the ones that we typically work in anyway. So feet, inches, yards, miles, that kind of stuff. So 1 foot is 12 inches, and then 1 yard is 3 feet, okay, which makes it 36 inches because 3 times 12. And then 1 mile is 5,280 feet, which you divide that by 3 because there's 3 feet in a yard, and you get 760 yards. Also, a foot is a third of a yard because it takes 3 feet to make a yard. So 1, 2, 3, 1/3 of a yard. Those are kind of things to keep in mind as we're doing this. And when you're thinking about this, and I'll be honest with you guys, sometimes this comes easier to some people than others. This is not one of my favorite things. This is something that I have always struggled with because I really have to think about it and I have to go backwards and I do struggle. So if you're one of those people, that's perfectly fine. Practice makes perfect. I can do it now. I just, like I said, I always have to stop and think. It doesn't come to me really that fast. And so 1 foot is how many times as long as an inch? That's what you got to think of. Like if you're converting from feet to inches or inches to feet, you got to think about, say, 1 foot is 12 times as long as 1 inch because it takes 12 inches to make a foot. So 1 yard is how many times as long as 1 foot. So how many feet are in a yard? 3. So 1 yard is 3 times as big as a foot. And then 1 yard is how many times as long as an inch? So how many inches does it take to get a yard? 36. Okay, and then a third of a yard is how many feet? 1. So 2/3 of a yard would be how many feet? 2. Okay, so kind of keep those things in mind as we're doing this. Because what you're going to have to do today is you're going to have to convert. And it's going to be all of these, the miles, inches, all that kind of stuff. So if I want to convert 3 miles into yards, so I know that 1 mile, and that little conversion chart will be on the top of your worksheet. I know that 1 mile is equal to 1,760 yards. So if I want to know how many 3 miles are, I'm going to take that number and I'm going to multiply by 3. Because 1 mile has 1,760, 2 miles would have double that, 3 miles would have 3 times that. And honestly, I will give you permission. You're at home, so you may be doing it anyway, but I will give you permission to use a calculator on this kind of stuff. It's really about learning how to convert, not knowing how to multiply. You should already know how to multiply. If you need that practice, go ahead. But if you want to use a calculator, you are allowed to. In middle school, you're allowed to start using calculators. So I put this in my calculator, 1,760 times 3 is 5,280. And then make sure that since we're converting, you need to put your unit in the answer. So don't just put 5,280, put yards with it because I want to know how many yards are in 3 miles. So make sure you put that yards there. Okay, so we're going to do 12 yards into inches. So I know that 1 yard has 36 inches. Okay, we talked about that on the previous slide. Also, if you really think about that, 3 feet, 3 times 12 is 36. So if 1 yard has 36 inches, I want to know how much 12 yards has. So I would take 36 and I would multiply it by 12. Because 1 yard has 36 inches, so 2 yards would have double that, 3 yards would have triple that, blah, 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 12 times. So I would do 36 times 12. And I'm going to use my calculator. Like I said, you have permission. 36 times 12 is 432 inches. So there is my answer. Okay, let's do some more. Okay, 42 inches into feet and inches. And notice I said feet and inches. Your workbook's going to say the same thing, is because it's not an exact. 42 is not divisible by 12. So it's not going to be like a perfect foot. You're going to have so many feet plus so many inches. So this one, you're actually going to end up with a smaller answer because you are taking 42 inches, which is our smallest, and you're changing it into something bigger, feet. So your answer is going to get smaller on this. So this is kind of one of those things you want to think about. Technically, you're going to divide, but just think about 42 inches, okay? How many times will 12 go into 42? Because 12 inches is a foot, so that's what I want. So 42, how many times will 12 go into 42? 3. So it's going to be 3 feet. And then how many inches do you have left over? So 3 times 12 is 36. So 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 6 inches. So you're going to have 3 feet and 6 inches. Okay, so that one's kind of just something to think. You know, you can do the math behind it, do all that. Technically, you're dividing by 12. But, I mean, just think about it. And then check your answer to make sure it makes sense. Okay, so 3 feet is 36 inches, plus 6 more is 42 inches. So you're right. If you would have gotten, you know, if you would have multiplied instead of divided, you would have got an answer that really didn't make sense. Okay, let's change my color. 6.5 feet into inches. So I know that 1 foot has 12 inches. Okay, so 6 feet, I would take 12 times 6. It doesn't work. Is equal to 72 inches. Okay, but I still have that half there. So a half of a foot, how many inches is in half of a foot? Okay, a whole foot is 12 inches, so a half of a foot would be 6 inches. So then I take these two, and I have my 6 feet, 72 inches, and I have my half a foot is 6 inches, so I add those two together, and I get 78 inches. If you need to get a ruler and like look at it to help you make sense of this, some people that are not very visual, they really struggle with this, and it's okay. It is perfectly okay if you aren't comprehending exactly what's going on. Get a ruler, get a tape measure, look at it and try to make sense of it. Get one of your parents' tape measures and like pull it out and look at the yard, look at 3 feet, do all that stuff. Really visualize what this is. Okay, I think I have, oh, I have 2 more. Okay, so 60 inches, and I did this because this is how it looks in your workbook. It's not written out, it's actually in the abbreviation. So in is inches, fit is feet, YD is yards. So you kind of use your abbreviations a little bit. So 60 inches into feet. So I know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So I need to know how many feet is 60 inches. So I got to figure out, okay, so 12 will go into 60 how many times? So 60 divided by 12. How many times will 12 go into 60? 5. And 5 exactly. There's no remainder. And so that means it's exactly 5 feet. Okay. What color again here? So 12 2/3 yard equals how many feet? So I know that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. Okay. So it means that 12 yards is going to be equal to 12 times 3, which is 36 feet. Okay. And then I have that 2/3 yard, and we talked about that a second ago. 2/3 of a yard. Well, 1 yard is 3 feet, so 1/3 of a yard is 1 foot. 2/3 of a yard would be 2 feet. So I have my 36 feet and my 2 feet. I want to add those together, and I get 38 feet. Okay, and kind of pay attention to when your answer gets bigger or when it gets smaller. So I'm going to inches to foot to feet, my answer is going to get smaller. If I'm going from yards to feet, my answer is going to get bigger because inches is the smallest, yards is the biggest. And so if I'm going inches up, my answer is going to be bigger. If I'm going yards down, my answer is smaller. Sorry. If I'm going yards down, my answer is going to get bigger. Okay, so really look and make sure that your answer makes sense when you're doing this. Okay, and then you have some that's a compare. So I want you to do the greater than, less than, or equal to. So your answers here are greater than, less than, or equal to. And to do this, you can kind of look at it and see if it's something close, if you can kind of figure it out, or you can convert it. I know that 1 yard is 3 feet. And so I know 7 yards would be 7 times 3, which is 21 feet. And then I have a third of a yard. A third of a yard, which you've already talked about, is 1 foot. So I take these two, add them together. So 7 1/3 yards is 22 feet. Notice here I got 22 feet. So my answer for this one is equal to 7 1/3 yard and 22 feet are the same thing, same measurement. Okay, so let's do this other one over here. Okay, 54 inches and 4 feet 8 inches. Like I said, it doesn't matter which way you convert. To me, converting from feet to inches is easier. I don't know why. I know that 1 foot has 12 inches. So 4 feet would have 4 times 12 is 48 inches. And then 8 inches, I'd add that onto here. So that's 56 inches. So 4 foot 8 inches is the same as 56 inches, which is slightly bigger than 54 inches. So my answer is less than. Okay, so you have a few of those where you're going to have to compare. And that's it. So hopefully that makes good sense to you. If not, remember I do have my Zoom Monday from 1 to 2, Tuesday from 6 to 7, and then there'll be a new video on Wednesday. So you can come see me if you need help with numbers 1 through 10 on the worksheet. You can also do these in the workbook if you don't have a way to print the worksheet, or if you just want to do them in the workbook. It's the exact same problems on page 531 and 532, numbers 1 through 10. So however you want to do it. And then Wednesday, I will release the video for the metric units, and it'll all be due, the entire worksheet, which is 20 problems, is due Friday by noon. Bye.